Hello guys, I'm Melissa and welcome back to Hopeful Happenings. I apologize if you can hear construction in the background because they're doing construction right outside my house, and unfortunately they're doing it for a long time every day, and there just wasn't another day that I could film. I'll try to get through this as quickly as possible and yet still give you all the information you need. Today's video is 15 tips on how to write like a pro. As some of you know, I went to a writers conference recently, and one of the classes was on 15 tips of writing like a pro. And so I've just combined a lot of the aspects of the class as well as some of my own tips to give you this video today. And these tips are not just for beginner writers, these tips are for everyone. Number 1, avoid prologues. Prologues is kind of like a beginner's writer's cheat to giving you backstory. Normally you want to get backstory through scenes throughout the book. The exception to this is if your prologue is out of time sequence or reveals something extremely essential to the plot. However, if you're querying agents, do not say that you're giving them the prologue. Give them the first chapter, and if you feel like the prologue is essential and it needs to be there, then don't label it the prologue. Give them the prologue, but label it the first chapter. Number 2, open with conflict. Conflict and action are not the same things. On your first page, there should be a problem apparent from the very beginning, because problems are interesting to read about. Number 3, you must have an inciting incident. In the hero's journey, this would be the call to action. This inciting incident is the catalyst that starts your character's journey. In Hunger Games, for example, this is when Katniss chooses to take Prim's place. So before that, that was all setting the status quo. Number 4, show don't tell. Time and time again we're told to do show don't tell, show don't tell. But what I found out at this writers conference is what you show is very important also. Every detail you give the reader should have a purpose. What does it tell us about the character, or what does it tell us about the world? Number 5, know your genre. Professional books are clear as to what genre they are before you ever need to be told. You should be able to guess the genre or get the feel for the genre in the first page. And this is especially true for agents and editors. They will be looking to see if your romance actually sounds like a romance, or if your young adult sounds like a young adult. If it doesn't, then they're not going to want to read further. Number 6, use active voice, not passive voice. He runs to the store, not he was running. Number 7, keep dialogue shorter rather than longer. Dialogue should really help you understand the character. It is used to get information across, but not tons and tons of information. Number 8, this kind of goes with what we were just talking about. Don't dump information into your story. Information dumps are boring. If you ever want to give backstory on the world or give backstory on the character, see if you can weave it in and out of the scene instead. Information that is sprinkled throughout a scene is way more interesting than dumping a bunch of information at once. Number 9, include hooks. This is one from the conference that I really liked, so I'm just going to read you directly what they suggested. Every chapter ending should have a question in the reader's minds that needs to be answered. Why? Because this forces them to read on to get that answer. Number 10, create flawed characters. Nobody wants to read about a perfect character. To make your characters more human, more realistic, give them quirks, give them flaws. They should have strengths, but they should also have weaknesses. And even just little silly things, like touching their nose for good luck every time they swing a baseball bat. These little quirks and flaws help your character feel more real, and they can really push the character into uncomfortable situations, which is what we like to read about. Not only this, but your characters should grow throughout the story. They should not be the same character they were from the beginning at the end. So giving them flaws helps them to overcome the flaws, and that way they can change. Number 11. I just realized I don't have 11 fingers. Keep your verb tense consistent. Number 12. Throw rocks at your character. In every single scene, ask yourself, how am I throwing rocks at my character? How am I making it harder emotionally or physically for them to accomplish their goal? Number 13, create concrete goals. There must be a concrete, observable goal in the story, because that is how the reader knows what to root for. Emotional goals can't be fixed. So for example, in a murder mystery, someone gets murdered at the beginning. Okay, the concrete goal, we can assume, is finding out who the murderer is. And so the whole time, we know what we're rooting for. We're rooting for the main character to solve the mystery. Number 14, develop your voice. Yes, it's important that your books sound like the genre it is in, but that doesn't mean you have to get rid of your creative voice. On the contrary, a strong voice is probably the biggest thing that agents and editors look for. If you've ever picked up a book and read it and thought, that sounds just like Jane Austen or Dan Brown or J.K. Rowling, that's because these authors have really developed a strong voice that you can recognize. You have your own unique voice. Don't take it away by trying to copy someone else's. Instead, develop your own voice so that someone will read a book one day and say, this sounds just like you. And lastly, number 15, stay consistent. If you're going to call your character Will, then everybody should call your character Will, unless there's a specific reason why, like maybe a teacher always calls him William and it shows the kind of disconnect that they have. Another example is okay versus okay. Consistency is key to making your manuscript feel like a whole one single piece. There you have it, guys. That's 15 tips on how to write like a pro. Thank you to Brian Klems, the author of Oh Boy, You're Having a Girl, A Dad's Survival Guide to Raising Daughters, for giving this lecture at the Writers' Conference. I learned so much, and I hope you guys did too. If you have questions or want to add more tips, then please comment below. And if you're new here, welcome. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you really enjoyed it, and I hope you will subscribe on your way out. I post once a week on YouTube and once a day on Instagram to give you writing tips and share with you my own writing journey. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye!